Let's see if we can get this display wired up there. Most of the ones I've found on the web come with a header already installed, and that is not what we need. We want to actually solder some wires into here, so we're going to take these out. And the easiest way I've found to do this is just to cut the headers so that they're all separated, and then I'll be very careful not to break the display because it's glass. Let's see if we can get a hold of this without actually touching the glass. And then with some tweezers or some needle nose pliers or something like a hemostat, you can heat that up and pull those out. And since they're broken apart, they'll come out one at a time fairly nicely. Like so. There's 4 wires here. It's VCC, ground, data, and clock for the I2C bus. So once you have those holes out, it's time to bring in our favorite solder wick, or you can do this with the solder pump. And we just need to clear these holes up enough to where we can get the wires through. And I think we got one hole that didn't fully open there, you can see. And so usually what I would do is come back in and just add a smidgen of solder and give it another try. It's kind of like an old-time water pump. You got to have a little bit of prime to get the solder to flow. And with the new lock, it will flow. And there we go. So now we've got our holes cleared. Okay, so these wires, we're using the pre-crimped Pico blades. They are cut to 3 inches long, or 75 millimeters. I'm going to use the colors red for VCC, black for ground, and then we're going to do, I'm having trouble figuring out a good color code, but I'm thinking orange for the clock, as in clockwork orange, and then blue would be for the data. So, and those will match up with our header here. So we just need to strip about 1/4 inch off of these wires, and we will okay, so let's start with our ground wire here. Get our helping hands in business here, give it a little bit of twist. Fit through our hole, so the display is going to be facing upward. The leads are going to come out the bottom, go to the circuit board. And this is where if you have a second person, it's sure handy, but we got our helping hands here, so with a little bit of luck and a little bit of coordination, we should be able to get by. Whenever I'm doing my workshop with the kids and stuff, we have them hold the item for each other, and we call it a trust exercise. And boy, did I just mess that up. So I've got the insulation above the thing, and I got too hot, so I melted the insulation. So I'm gonna have to recover a little bit. Nobody's perfect. It's also a little bit hard because I'm behind the camera here. focal. So for what that's worth, you know, I'm shifting around all the time trying to get the right focus. Okay, let's see if we can do that. And it shortened up our wire about 1/4 inch so we can adjust the other wires as needed. And so what I would do in that case is just, because it's nice on a harness that way your wire's the same length, so we're just gonna clip them and strip them again, get close. The other way to do it, which I think maybe I should have, was to actually insert the pins into the housing and then solder. I don't know, it's always hard to tell. I'm pretty sure if I turn this into a kit, I'll probably do this ahead of time, because this is a little more than I expect a beginner solder to do. Okay, and once you got some more than one wire, it gets a little easier with the helping hands, because you can get a grip of both wires, as long as we don't do the insulation thing again. And yeah, so black is, I'll probably just come up with a piece of heat shrink to repair that black. So the next port is our clock, and so we're going to go with clockwork orange. And of course you don't want any spare leads flying around, short and outer. In such cases things don't work. And one more to go here. So blue will be our data line. The other thing we could do is put a little hot glue on the back here to kind of hold these lines vertical. If you get them in a position where they're kind of folding back and forth at the solder joint, they'll break fairly quickly. So that's something we can look at here. Hook our wires together and a little flush cut just so they're not sticking up too high. And then, so we need to pin our header here. So this is a 4-pin Pico blade. On these, pin 1, if you hold it upright, I kind of think of it as a castle, then pin 1 is on the left, which is opposite of a lot of other headers. So you always got to be careful when you're doing an unfamiliar header, or make sure you get the right pin out. So the board designer, if he's got it right, will have the pin out on the board to match the connectors he's using. So pin 1 is data, and that's the blue. So pin 2 is going to be orange for our clock. And this isn't any kind of standard. This is more based around, I think a base is just based on what the original outputs were on the thing, and then mirrored it pin for pin on the header. So I don't think if you look at like an Adafruit project or a SparkFun project, there's really no kind of standardization for the four pins of an I2C, which is kind of makes you scratch your head sometimes. Okay. Alright, so I'll show a close-up picture, but there's little tangs on the crimps that go up into, and there's a little plastic tab that kind of snaps down in place, so those are all nice and tight now. And then we have our 3D printed display thing here. Now the only trouble we're having here is I decided to go with number 2 screws, and they don't quite fit into these holes. I think these are like 2mm holes, and a number 2 screw with the threads is just a little bit over that. So what we're going to do is take a 3/32 drill bit and just open these up just a hair. There's no circuitry right next to these are just mechanical through holes, so if we're careful and we just need to take a hair off, you can see that's just open that up a smidgen. I think I have this kind of problem with Arduino projects and Raspberry Pi projects. You kind of hope everything would be like M3 or bigger, but makes it a little bit smaller, and always worried about what kind of hardware you can find. So number 2 screws are you generally can't find them at a hardware store. You got to order them, but it's still about as small as I would expect you to be able to find realistically. So now number 2 screw will go in there. This is the back here. You can see it fits in. The wires are going to come through here. And again, this is glass, so you don't want to, if you're screwing this down and it just doesn't feel right, if you get it torqued at all, it will break that glass, which will be no bueno. So I've kind of designed this with just a little bit of clearance to try and mitigate any factors, but you still have to kind of use your common sense and make sure you're not jamming that down. One thing I did beforehand was I actually ran all the screws in and cut those threads in so that I'm not having to really torque on this with the display in place. So that they'll go straight in. Had a little bit of trouble figuring out the screws I like. I've got some that weren't long enough, and now these are just a little bit too long, but the way this fits on the project it's not going to show up. So for now we're going to call it good enough. It's not quite going in. And you can see these flex a little bit. Okay, and then this is going to fit into, we're going to cut an opening in our jam door, and this will fit into the jam door, and then our wiring will fit into our circuit boards. This can come up and down and flip like that. So this is where I'm probably going to put a little hot glue across here to give it some stress relief so we're not folding back and forth on our solder joints. Okay, so let's see if we can finish up the integration with our display that we put together, and we're going to put it in the jam door here. And this is the only shell cutting that you have to do for this mod. There's a couple ways I've done this. I generally just pen out this general outline here, following these two cutouts here and there, and then I either use a jigsaw or a Dremel. Dremel's your friend with this case, and basically what we're trying to do is get this so this sits in, and I've yet to come up with what I consider an ideal solution, but we're basically trying to get it to sit in so you still have line of sight over the top, but can tilt your blaster up and can see your ammo count and battery levels. And so what we're really looking for is kind of level here and level here. And I've done a lot of filing just to get it so it sits the way I want. And then I'm just going to use some hot glue, kind of tack it in place, not get too carried away. And then if you need to, hot glue is a nice adhesive because you can heat it up with a hot air gun and reset things or pull things apart if you need to. And so, and the other thing is has that hot glue setting that lets you kind of get this in the way you want it. And again, this is not what I would consider an ideal solution, and hopefully somebody better at 3D design can come up with a jam door for me that completely integrates the OLED. That would be awesome, but for now this is what we've got, and it's working out okay. And I think we are there. The other thing is, you saw I talked about earlier, putting a little hot glue on the lead, so this is going to be folding up and down as an on-off switch, and so we want a little bit of stress relief on there so we don't break our solder joints.